Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor and the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, who is Mr. Intuitive, Troomers Only, sent me this little article. Here are the most popular cryptocurrencies in South Korea. And if you check this out, in order, 1, 2, 3, 4 is Bitcoin, XRP, then Ethereum, then Cardano. How about them apples, folks? Now, XRP Darren, who is at Fame21 More, he's an old school XRP guy. You need to go give him a follow, and I'm also going to show you his YouTube channel that you need to subscribe to. This guy's old school, and he is very smart and knows what he's doing. He found this clip where Brad Garlinghouse was at Coin Agenda in the Caribbean back in December 7th through 9th, 2021. And if you got kids in the room, put your hands over their ears, because he's going to say a dirty word. But listen to this. You can tell he's pretty irritated.
Look, I introduced myself earlier. I'm a kid from Kansas who, wears red, white, and blue on the 4th of July. The United States, look, I'm sure this is probably being streamed and recorded, but I'll do something I rarely do.
Disclaimer.
I rarely do this when I'm being recorded. The United States is fucked. It's just like...
All right, and he's, of course, referencing to how they're intentionally trying to crack down on Gary Gensler and all these clowns. Anyway, this is Darren Moore's channel, Darren Moore Jr. Go give him a subscribe. He's got the whole video here. Now, I clipped out another clip that I really liked, and the reason I did this is because we don't get to see Brad Garlinghouse speaking as much. Last week, I believe, I found an excellent clip from who I think is an excellent salesman for Ripple, which is Brooks Entwistle. And because these days we don't get to hear the way we did a couple of years ago when Ripple was out selling all the time. We don't get to hear just how significant this company Ripple is and what's going on all the time right now. And so this is another one of those clips. If you don't understand, and you can separate this Ripple equity, which, by the way, I'm going to show you in a minute, Link2 just added more of it on the platform. And I'm telling you, this right here this window is going to close, I think, sooner than people think. But listen to what Brad Garlinghouse says about what this company is. It's separate from XRP, but they're both in their own rights they're huge. And I want you to just listen to what he says.
So first of all, I appreciate you asking the question.
By the way, the question the guy asked him was what is Ripple and what is XRP, or something like that.
A lot of people still conflate Ripple and XRP. Ripple is a company of which I'm the CEO. XRP is an open source technology that lots of people participate in. Ripple cares a lot about the XRP ecosystem, but there are a lot of people that do. Ripple, the way I would describe it is simply, we are the leading enterprise blockchain company, period, full stop. My viewpoint is there are lots of use cases for blockchain technologies in the enterprise. Knowing how to sell into, knowing how to engage from a customer success point of view and get enterprises using blockchain technologies to improve the efficiency of lots of different kinds of transactions. We're just at the beginning of that journey. Ripple started with cross-border payments and selling into financial institutions. We now have hundreds of financial institutions. We've done millions and millions of transactions, billions and billions of dollars. But I do view it as an enterprise blockchain company as opposed to just payments. I was talking with a gentleman named Jose back here in the back about the ecosystem that Ripple's really creating around other enterprise use cases. And there's a lot going on. And I think Ripple is in a position that I compare to Amazon circa 1997, where Amazon at those ages, which you and I will remember, it wasn't Amazon, it was Amazon Books. The name of the company was Amazon Books. And it competed with Borders and Barnes & Noble. Today, obviously, it does lots of things. I think of Ripple, our first vertical. The books is to cross-border payments for Ripple.
And for XRP, how would you say that?
Look, I mean, for me, we use XRP not just because we own a lot of it. We also use XRP because from a payments point of view, it's extremely fast. A transaction settles in 3 to 4 seconds. It's extremely inexpensive. You're talking about 1/1000th of a penny. And it scales very well. And so if you're talking about, $120 trillion of cross-border payments, a lot of the different digital assets out there, it would be hard to use them for that use case.
Couple of things here to get out of this. Do you remember when, was it Dilip Rao from Ripple a couple of years ago that said, we're here to put a dent in the universe. We're either going to become the equivalent of Google or we're going to go away. There's no in between. Well, they didn't go away, folks. And now what you're watching, because I was there when Amazon only sold books. I had that dial-up connection. I remember that when they were just selling books. I remember how crazy it was, the idea that this company's selling books and they can just ship it to you and all that. And Amazon, if you go back to those days, in terms of resources, money, I don't think Amazon had anywhere close to the money that Ripple's sitting on now. Not anywhere even in the realm, I don't believe. And now you're seeing, and you're not just seeing it with Ripple, by the way, you're seeing it with Stellar. All of a sudden, both of them simultaneously are coming out there where you can have NFTs on them and smart contract. I mean, you're seeing this thing forming right before your eyes. And that, for me, I look at the Ripple equity and I also look at XRP, and both of them I'm like, oh my gosh, I bought more XRP yesterday, and just from watching this. And wait till the next clip I show you. So the next clip, this is from this is Joe Indoso, and John Deaton's on here too, linked to yesterday. They did an interview with John Deaton. Now, the whole discussion here is about Ripple's valuation and what this company is about. Listen to this. Now, it's 4:48. It's a long clip, but that's okay. You need to listen.
I look at the valuation of Coinbase, which is the only digital asset company in the public market today, although there should be a couple more coming later this year. But and I compare that to Ripple, and that's the other thing that I find persuasive, right? Ripple is so its valuation has been so repressed. I mean, people forget that at the time that Ripple achieved their $10 billion valuation on that Series C, that Coinbase had just completed a round that valued them at $8 billion. Wow. Less, meaning they were valued less in the private market than Ripple was. Today, even at the reduced prices, right, in the bear market that we're in, Coinbase is like a $34-35 billion company.
Oh, absolutely.
And Ripple has hardly moved.
Listen, if anything, being sued by the SEC is usually an indicator of future value. I mean, they've battled Amazon, they've battled Google,
Tesla, Microsoft,
obviously Tesla, Microsoft,
Apple,
all of them. I agree. It's almost like a badge of honor.
It's really just a tax, John. It's just a tax.
To say they recognize the most disruptive technology and they tax it. You're going to come in and pay your tax before you're going to be blessed, to move on. But the other thing to look at it from a Ripple's perspective is take worst case scenario. All right, let's just take the absolute worst case scenario. Judge says XRP is an investment contract with Ripple, and she doesn't distinguish between, secondary market. We just have that testimony. Does that mean Ripple goes out of business? No. All right. The Ripples can still sell to accredited investors. They just have to comply with those things. All I'm saying is that would it be a hit? Sure. But would it mean that they go from a $15 billion company to a $5 billion company? No.
No. That would probably cause them to leave for farther shores, just like, I think that's what I would see happening in that scenario. And the thing that's really interesting is that just that when you juxtapose what the environment is like outside the U.S. compared to the U.S., the comparison is really stark, right? Because one of the things we know from last year is that Ripple's, RippleNet product and ODL saw a massive adoption surge, all of it overseas last year. And think about that. These are financial institutions. Many of them are regulated banks that are using XRP as part of a international payments processing system, right? What are the implications? They're regulated by their nation's central bank and their financial regulator. Clearly, those sovereign regulators don't have an issue, right? But the larger thing is that those banks, because they're transacting in the international payment space, are also signatories to and regulated by the charter of the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS. The BIS has one really important function, and that is in order to safeguard the integrity of the total global, financial and payment system, it imposes capital requirements on banks, right, of all these different countries. Your capital requirement calculation is very driven by the composition of your portfolio, right, and whether you have securities and not, right? If the Bank of International Settlements felt that these banks had securities exposure, that would have a significant impact. My guess is they're not treating them as securities and imposing all sorts of additional capital requirements on these banks. Otherwise, they wouldn't be wanting to use ODL, or it'd be a lot harder for them. And that hasn't been the case, right? So now, not only do we have sovereign regulators, we have the BIS itself that's, tacitly saying it's not a security. You can use it for your ODL and your RippleNet. And here we are stuck in the Stone Ages in the United States. It makes me nuts.
That's great. Now, against that backdrop, you need to see today's the day. It's one day only. All investors will receive $1,000 in XRP when they invest in Ripple. It's the window is 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. This is Ray Fuentes over there.
Hello, family and friends. Ray Fuentes here, LinkedIn's community director. A little windy today, so please bear with me. I hope you're all having a wonderful jump start to your work week. I'm popping in to let you know that Link2 will be giving back $1,000 in XRP to every investor that invests in the unicorn Ripple during the window of 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Tuesday, April 26, 2022.
All right, I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to let you know. I'll put a link to the very top of the description of this video so you can see that. Now I want to show you the next clip from John Deaton, and then I took the liberty of adding one of my favorite clips onto the end of it to illustrate the absurdity. And today, because I'm in a good mood, I'm going to play the whole clip because I think you need to see it in full right beside what John Deaton says. And I said the SEC investigated Ripple for 30 months, according to John Deaton, and was able to come up with 0 instances of fraud. When is the SEC going to investigate the ETH founders and all their organizations? I bet dimes to donuts, Mike Novogratz style, that it would be much more interesting. And I copied in Gary Gensler and all their friends. Listen to this.
I always go back to, like, people say to me, how could you invest in Ripple? And I use this lawsuit as an example why, right? Because we know that for 30 months, they looked at these guys and they investigated them. They were turned over every transaction that Garlinghouse and Larson made and every transaction Ripple made between 2013 and 2020. And after 2.5 years, they didn't come up with one claim of fraud or misrepresentation. Now, I'm just saying is that how many other platforms could you say for sure there wouldn't be some allegation? And people say, well, you don't know that for sure. And I'm saying, if you're going to drop a lawsuit against them and you can claim fraud, you're going.
That's the first thing on the
that's
on
the
your
first
list.
thing you're going, because that's the hammer. You're talking about criminal penalties. You're talking about all kinds of punishment. And if they had that kind of hammer, they would have done it, and they didn't. And so to me, that gives you at least some confidence that the company's being above and beyond. You know what I mean?
So, but you do sell it regularly, right? Don't you sell it into the market?
Transparent about that. How much do you sell?
When necessary, sure.
And I think, look, I'm talking about transparency because I think for the whole industry to mature, we need to be transparent in the industry. Ripple, I think, has tried to lead by example with that. And I think there's other ecosystems that I have no idea what's going on in those ecosystems. And I don't think that's good for the whole industry. So I think that's bad for Ripple, too. The only interjection I have here is I find it interesting that Ripple is attacked for being transparent. Because we are very proactive, and we put actually the next XRP markets report, which we do quarterly, will come out sometime at the end of this week. But because we share that information, then we're attacked for it. Yet other platforms don't share that information, and so they are insulated from those same critiques and criticisms. I think in the dictionary that's called hypocrisy. I'm not 100% sure, but it's close.
Is there any plan for greater transparency within Consensus in terms of how it deploys its Ethereum?
Internally, sure. And, we're a private company, and
Ripple's a private company, too.
Absolutely. And transparency is important to us. But we also have to be strategic about information that we release. And
can buy from any number of different identities. We may limit the size, the unit size of a sale, just to make it easier to disguise. Let's say if you're a whale and you want some privacy, you can buy 50,000 units and so nobody scares people with enormous initial purchase. So if you are a whale, if you want to plan on investing several million US dollars worth, then you can do that for multiple entities.
So if you are a whale and you want to invest millions of US dollars, then you can do that in multiple identities. I can't even imagine myself saying something like that out loud. but since I'm quoting Joseph Lubin, that's really the only scenario where I would even think of something like that. I mean, this right here, the United States SEC is a total joke, because until you start investigating those guys and you publicly make an example out of those guys, to go after anybody else is just an embarrassing joke. Gary Gensler, this guy should have no legacy when this is all said and done, because he's a joke. He's the one that presides over all this. This guy's an embarrassment to the United States of America, and I hope and pray that none of these people in Congress ever think about giving him any kind of position in the U.S. government ever again. How the guy's still there is a miracle to me. I don't understand what in the world these people are thinking. We have a sick country going on right now. There's a lot that needs to be fixed. This is warped, folks. Chamber of Digital Commerce, who claims to be a crypto industry trade group, is giving an important update. New York, the digital asset mining moratorium bill was voted out of committee this afternoon by a slim margin. The bill has made its way to Assembly floor and will be debated tonight. It's an emergency, folks, because it could hurt Bitcoin or Ethereum because they involve mining. It's an emergency, but especially the precious Bitcoin. So I said to the chamber, I said, can you direct me to your thread since you are, I mean, I remind them here, after all, you're a crypto industry group. You're not a Bitcoin Ethereum group. That's not how you put yourself out there. Can you direct me to your thread in support of Ripple or John Deaton and his 66,000 plus XRP holders being attacked by the SEC? Perianne Boring, she runs it. She's the one. Where's your brief? You said you're going to file an amicus brief in this case. Where is it? Doesn't take that long. You got a whole army of lawyers over there. Where is it? Crypto Industry Trade Group. Here's another guy. He's with Jake Chervinsky's with the Blockchain Association. if they're far better, let them this guy. This is a thread that was going on. I hope they ban it. There are far better digital assets that are not proof of work. And he says, if they're far better, let them prove it in the market. Government should not pick winners and losers. Now, here's a guy that knows full well that there's not been a level playing field. He knows full well that Bitcoin and Ethereum have intentionally been given this fake free pass that they've been given so that they did not have to compete, because they could not compete with a Cardano or an XRP or an XLM. They could not, and he knows it. And so this guy's just, I mean, shoot. By now, you know where he's the air. Look, there's one thing I've learned about all these people that have been behind all of this. The arrogance is astounding. It's one thing to know that you're coming from a place of there not being a level playing field and know that things are being engineered behind the scenes in favor of Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's one thing to have knowledge of all that. It's another thing to have that nauseating arrogance on top of it when people question why are these two being treated differently when everything else technologically would take a huge heaping dump on them. And like I said here, Bitcoin becomes an altcoin. You get a level playing field for XRP and an XLM, a Cardano. Bitcoin and Ethereum, those are altcoins, folks, big time, in a second. All right, moving along. Then the U.S. Securities, speaking of arrogance, the SEC, in the midst of all this, we announced today a total award of $6 million to two groups of whistleblowers who provided information and assistance in a single covered action. And I said, I know 66,000 plus whistleblowers you've hurt and completely ignored, and that are suing you because you've ignored while they've blown the whistle. We've been blowing the whistle. I don't even have hardly any more air in my lungs. I've been blowing the whistle so loud. And these arrogant people ignore it. They're dishonest people. Our country is now being run by people who are liars. Full-time liars. This whole thing is a lie. That clip I just played for you, where they investigate Ripple for 30 months and find no instances of fraud, and then with all that we know about what went on from the Ethereum ICO, even up until now, and they don't do a thing. These are liars. Our country's being run by people that are dishonest and crooked and lying. They're lying to the whole world. And it's not just the SEC. It's several of the branches. This is crazy what's going on. It is sick. I fear for my kids' future. It is crazy. And then, speaking of, Gary Gensler, in the midst of, he knows full well what he's doing to the industry in the United States, and has the gall to tweet this. It's bright and early, but if you happen to be awake, tune in to listen to my remarks at London City Week. And then Real XRP Boy points out what he's going to be talking about. The fintech revolution, technology and disruptive innovation as drivers of growth. Gary Gensler, you're not driving anything. You are doing nothing but hindering growth in the United States. You've got the entire crypto industry at a halt in the United States. You are the problem. You're a joke. You should never be anywhere near a government office for the rest of your life. You're nothing but a toady for Elizabeth Warren and all the other pieces of garbage like her. That's all you are, and you know it. If you cared anything about investors and protecting investors, this lawsuit wouldn't have happened in the first place, because I think you were involved before it was dropped. We know you were meeting with Jay Clayton. This wouldn't have ever happened. And I'm sitting here with my nervous, my little, I've got one of these back scratchers that extends out. Somebody gave me this the other day. I'm sitting here pushing in and out because I'm just pissed while I'm sitting here talking about this. Enough of that. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that we are surrounded by lies. And that's why I'm glad. I'm glad that we're going to have some serious free speech on Twitter. I hope somebody tackles YouTube next. Thanks for listening.